Exciting morning if you are a Nintendo fan, particularly of either Animal Crossing or of the upcoming Nintendo expansion pack. Today, we finally got the pricing for said expansion pack. You can see it on the screen here. The expansion pack is going to cost $50 US for 1 year as an individual membership, or $80 US as a family membership. They have sweetened the deal slightly by including some Animal Crossing DLC, which is something that I think everybody expected something else might come with the expansion pack, only because the Nintendo online emulation service that exists now, with a pretty healthy catalog of Super Nintendo and classic Nintendo games, definitely warranted a little more oomph. As much as there is nostalgia for many of us in the N64 and for even a smaller amount of us in the Sega Genesis, we knew that when Nintendo asked for more money, they would have to do something. So this is what they have decided. So the price increases if you want this. It includes that DLC as part of a incentive to get it. That DLC, I believe, is $24.99 US by itself, and it's a very hefty DLC. It's a complete overhaul of a lot of the housing stuff in Animal Crossing, which, let's be honest, it's been kind of dead for a while, so I'm glad to see Nintendo doubling down on that. However, that wasn't the only piece of news that we got. Before actually I jump into the controller price, I want to go ahead and pull up this article from Game Rant. As with everything, I will post a link to all of this in the description box below. So go over to Game Rant and give them a click on my behalf, because they put together a nice article here. But I pulled this up because I wanted to recap what the Nintendo expansion service would get you in terms of N64 games and as well as in terms of Sega Genesis games. So at launch, it's going to include Dr. Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, Mario Tennis, Sin and Punishment, Mario Kart 64, Super Mario 64, Legend of Zelda: The Ocarina of Time, Winback, Covert Operations, and Yoshi's Story. Additionally, they are adding some new games. These are ones that they've already announced initially. There will be more later. Just like with the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo catalog, I think each of them had maybe like half a dozen games, and now I think we're over 100. But for the N64 specifically, they're going to add these games later: Banjo-Kazooie, F-Zero X, Kirby 64, Mario Golf, Paper Mario, Pokemon Snap, and the sequel of Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. Over on the Sega Genesis side, they are not doing a tiered release. Everything's just going to drop at once. Of course, as I said, just like with the N64 and everything before it, you will see these as well expand over the years to come. Those include Castlevania Bloodlines, Contra Hardcore, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Echo the Dolphin, Golden Axe, Gunstar Heroes, Rystar, Shining Force, Sonic 2, Streets of Rage 2, Musha, Phantasy Star Force, Shinobi 3, and Strider. Pretty healthy list of games. Where's Comic Zone? Anyways, so pretty good list, but that's not all they announced. We finally have a price point for the coveted emulated N64 wireless controller as well as the Sega Genesis wireless controller. The Nintendo N64 controller will run you $49.99 US. It begins shipping at the end of October. Note that shipping on these is a fixed rate here in the States. I think it's $7.99 US. So if you want to buy something, do a bunch of bulk purchases at once. I just picked up the Metroid posters, paid $6 shipping, even though they probably weigh less than a pound. I picked up this controller before I started this video. It weighs significantly more. It was the same price. So keep that in mind. So here you have the controller. We have kind of a nice deep dive of what it looks like. Finally, we didn't get to see much in the way of press photos before. The limited bit we saw was it being held during the actual Nintendo Direct presentation. So here you go. Take a little better look at it. You can see that they've added some of the wireless stuff across the top so you can pair them easily, and it's got the 4 blinking lights, just like we've seen on every other Nintendo peripheral to indicate which player you are, 1, 2, 3, or 4. The only thing I'm really curious about, and unfortunately they do not show us a photo of the back, I'm curious to see what this piece in the back is. Recall that when the system launched, that was an empty slot, which was later filled by the Rumble Pack. Remember, that snapped into the back, required a couple batteries to give you a little bit of kick on certain games. Obviously, we know that Nintendo has re-engineered considerably how the innards of this controller work. I would assume that there may still be a Rumble Pack on the back, but I would like to see a back photo of it. Unfortunately, you're not going to get one here. But if you want one, it's $50 US. I believe these will sell out. This is a very nostalgic piece of hardware. The Nintendo and Super Nintendo controllers sold out almost instantly at launch as well. And then later on, they were restocked and people were able to get them. So keep that in mind. If you are a Sega Genesis fan, they have the OG 16-bit control pad, which will also run you $49.99 US. This looks incredibly faithful to the original as well. And I don't know if we get to really see a top view. A little bit there, not really. I mean, you got the pairing buttons that they've added. That makes sense as well. I was not a Genesis kid growing up, so personally, this doesn't do it for me. I've already got the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo pads and now the N64 one that I just pre-ordered. I don't see myself getting into some of these Genesis games, although I guess I'll say that, you know, some of them might be fun, but I don't have that nostalgia of holding that old controller. But I can tell you, picking up the old N64 controller and going a couple rounds of Mario Kart or Star Fox 64 is exactly what my soul needs right now. So I would be incredibly, incredibly satisfied when that happens. Now, this Nintendo service, wrapping everything up here, like I said, it does include those 2 games, and when the Animal Crossing DLC drops, it'll include that as well. If you don't want the Animal Crossing DLC, as I mentioned earlier, you can buy it as a standalone thing. I suspect most people are going to buy this at launch because it's, you know, kind of cool, and I am guessing Nintendo will probably have a limited time in which this Animal Crossing DLC is available. I would not be surprised if they begin to somehow incentivize some sort of renewal plan every year with the price remaining the same or potentially going up, but continuing to not only stack on additional N64 titles, also stack on additional Genesis titles, but also add some sort of DLC for an upcoming game, whether it be Breath of the Wild 2 or Mario. I don't know. You pick the game. There's plenty Nintendo games out there. This is a pretty hefty DLC in cost and I think in scope. And I would not be surprised if we didn't start to see an annualized launch of some sort of expansion content built into this renewal fee, probably around October of 2022. That would make the most sense. People buy it for a year. It's lapsing, whatever. I'm a day one person on this. I'm going to have a lot to say about the games and the reviews as they begin to come out. I can't wait to re-review some of my favorite Nintendo games. That's going to be a ton of fun. I'm looking forward to doing that with you guys. But here's everything I know about it, and now you know everything about it too. As I mentioned before, I will post a link in the description below for links directly to the controllers and to this really fancy article here by Game Rant, which does include a full list of games now and in the future. So go ahead and give that a click as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys found this video informative. Have a great weekend. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.